Good to be back with the SportsMax family.
All right, Ato, I know we've seen some comments from you prior on this topic, and you're suggesting that Jamaica is at risk of losing more athletes in this way.
It's not just Jamaica. This is sort of what is happening with this. And listen, this is not new. We have always had athletes switching allegiance. Bahrain did it before. Turkey's done it before. There've been other examples. Um, what I see now is sort of a referendum on how poor the state of track and field economy is. You have a sport now where the field athletes are not getting the contracts anywhere like they used to. It's really a sport now of haves and have-nots. So it's not Jamaica's fault why the athletes are looking around and saying, you know what, a pro career is brief. I want to maximize the kind of money that I can make during my career.
Do you think that there is an integrity issue that surrounds the sport globally, given these developments? Because I was mentioning when we were discussing this last week that the International Basketball Association allows only one switching of allegiance per national team. I know it's a different sport, but it is a recognition that they think there has to be some level of guidelines governing this. Do you think this could escalate to a level that the integrity of the sport is compromised?
I believe what is past is prologue. I tend to look backwards to try to figure out what's coming forward. There have been peaks and valleys. Let's face it, we haven't really had. When is the last time you and I are older fans of this sport? When is the last time we had this sort of an issue where you have, a big number of people transferring allegiance at the same time? And some would argue that it's not a big number now; it's a big Jamaica number. I don't think it's going to get out of control. I am all for regulations of it, but no, I do not think that this is something where in a year you're going to see athletes, just all over the place in terms of switching allegiance. No,
yeah, but Ato, to be fair, in the previous instances when these things have happened, it did not involve athletes at this level. Here we have an Olympic gold medalist and a bronze medalist and medalists at the Olympics switching allegiance. Prior to now, a lot of the athletes who had switched allegiance were not yet at that level. So to me, this story paints a different picture.
That point is well taken because there have been sort of, yeah, you're right. In the past, there have been athletes who are, I don't want to say lane fillers, but they have not been a lot of Olympic gold medalists switching allegiance. So your point is well made. And that's something which even I have to admit is a big difference between the case that's going on now and a lot of the cases that have happened before.
Yeah, and Ato, because of this particular situation now, you see the Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Honorable Andrew Holness, coming to the forefront and mandating the Ministry of Sport to create a national framework to ensure that, instances like this are prevented in the future. And one of the things I said to Lance and Ricardo on the show was that, you would always think that this was in existence in Jamaica. And I'm saying that coming from a country like Trinidad and Tobago, where you look at Jamaica as the mecca of track and field, and you'd think that these things are in place. But now situations like this has pushed the government to act.
Yeah, and this is sort of typical of how we operate as a sport. Something happens and we react to it. I very rarely see us do things in our beloved sport that are proactive. But again, all of this is going to tie back to the economics of your sport. When the grand dam of your sport, the Diamond League, is 10,000 for first place, then it means that you have a lot of athletes. Think of the athletes who, when you watch the Diamond League, are usually in the middle of the pack. When their season is over, most of them are just about breaking even. I don't know if maybe the casual track and field fan knows this. So I think that in trying to solve this problem, we almost trying to solve the wrong problem. World Athletics next year has a meet which, to this point, nobody can explain this meet to me. I know it has lots of prize money and that's a new thing. And I'm like, why are we spending more money on that when we have athletes who are complaining that the Diamond League simply does not have enough money in it. So I am a lot more concerned about the bigger picture than I am, that's this one isolated incident. Although I understand that obviously this is a cause for alarm, as it should be in Jamaica.
Yeah, and one of the things also that alarmed me, if I'm to say that, was when I heard the interview with Rajendra Campbell, speaking about the fact that he was so desperate, and I'm using that word, that he had to show his bank account information to the administration to say, I need some assistance. And this is not a regular athlete. This is one that has been performing on the biggest stage. Having to go to that level to say, well, I don't have anything in place to ensure that, I could do my training like I usually do. And then it also brings the bigger topic that, field athletes, they always feel had done.
Yeah. When somebody goes off to fight in a war for their country and represent their country with honor and valor, we like to feel like we take care of them when they come back home. And that's why something like this is such a bad look, because it's like, wait a minute. So this man went and performed at the biggest stage. One got bronze, one got gold, whatever it is they got. And now you're saying that these people have to be almost destitute. It's listen, this is not a problem that is unique to Jamaica. We saw the switch of allegiance also by Ophelia, but I just feel like this is something which I'm glad that it's being brought into the spotlight, because it's been going on for a long time.
Yeah, Ato, just going back to the question that Lance asked earlier about the integrity of the sport being compromised by switches of this nature. And by this nature, in this particular instance, switches that appear to be for financial reasons only. So, for example, the World Athletics Transfer of Allegiance document says that you must have genuine ties to the country. And at first glance, in the back of my mind, genuine ties meant you had a great-grandmother or a great-great-grandfather or a grandmother, and so you have those ties. But it doesn't seem to be that case, based on the fact that, as we know it now, these transfers are moving forward and similar transfers have moved forward. So if it is purely for financial reasons and there are no genuine ties, does that bring the integrity of international championship competition into question?
It no question, it absolutely does. The rules are written, as you said, such that it is supposed to be, my grandmother is Jamaican and I want to come and run for Jamaica, even though I was born in Austria. That if there have been 100 cases of this, and we know there've been way more, I would say maybe 10 in my 30 years in this sport have been like that. It really usually is somebody who is frustrated with their federation, not happy with the economics of the country that they used to represent, or in most cases, a combination of the two, and that's what leads to an exit. But to answer your question, I think in the letter that the rule, in the way that the rule is written, they are really trying to discourage it. But I don't know if they can completely stop it. I've read with great interest that the J3As is going to, they want to get involved, and they are sort of filing an official, I don't know if it's a protest or
they want to lobby.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if some of these federations want to go down that road, because I don't think any of us wants to feel like we can't go and find a place to ply our trade elsewhere, no matter what job you do. And remember this too, because I have to remind myself of it. People of a certain age have a certain reverence for certain things. The Grammys, the Oscars, the Nobel Peace Prize, what country you represent and who you align yourself with. This generation is different. This is a generation that's watching kids in high school make $1 million in NIL money and $10 million when you're at university in the States. These kids don't think the way a lot of us did. So they don't see this whole, oh, I'm giving up the country that, I was born and raised in to go and represent another, as the kind of big deal that I think some of us who are a little older would.
Yeah, just a little older. On another matter relating to the economics of the sport of track and field, does track and field need a downsizing, Ato?
A downsizing, huh? I would like to see it because I can't in the same breath say, what is this world challenge that is coming next year when so many people are dissatisfied with the Diamond League, and then say, oh no, let's expand. I think we have vehicles that are great for our sport. World Relays is not what it used to be, but I think World Relays is, and I like the time of the year that it is. It kind of gets a lot of people ready for outdoors, particularly those in Europe who are still in the middle of, or at the end of winter for the most part. I would like to see track and field contract and do the things that we do really well with more support, rather than have 15 things and it's like nobody can find anything and nobody understand where it all fits. No, I would be for contraction rather than expansion.
It's interesting that you read the term downsizing to mean reducing the number of competitions that we now have. Incidentally, I meant it more from a standpoint of reducing the number of events within track and field. I remember there was a time when the Olympic movement was even discussing not having the 200 meters anymore. You look at the Ultimate Championship.
You can't ask after that.
No.
Listen, if it's the 2 or the 100, I know which one I'm cutting. It doesn't matter where my medals are.
There you go. And then there was, even if you look at the Ultimate Championship that you speak about that's coming up next year, you won't have, I think, the discus throw and a couple other field events. But the point I'm trying to make, Ato, is because you have so many events in track and field, from sprints, hurdles, field events, middle and long distance events, you end up having so many more individuals to pay. And that means it essentially reduces what each individual can get. And I'm sure there are those who are thinking, well, if we just eliminate some of these events, then we won't have so many individuals to pay, and maybe then we can pay more. Is that a possibility within the sport of track and field? Is that workable?
I'm listening to you and I'm thinking of how many different ways there are to swim in the sport of swimming. It's a fair point, and it's well made. But I know I am too much of a purist to ask that question.
Yeah.
Because no matter what event we start with, you are going to offend and alienate and discourage a whole generation. I mean, what if we decide, okay, no more javelin? Well, I mean,
all
the
of
Caribbean
Finland
done very well in the javelin of late, right? Or the discus, or any of the events in our sport where maybe there's been a change lately. India and Pakistan weren't winning javelin medals when I was coming up. So I am not the one to ask that question because I am a purist. I have my favorite events, but I like being at a good meet or being at a championship meet and being able to say, hey, that was a fabulous javelin or high jump or triple jump or whatever. So I don't disagree with your point, but I am still of the belief that we can do better in supporting what we already have without having to cut. You see this thing where World Athletics wants to limit how many sponsors you can. To me, the days of that stuff should be over. If athlete X can get 10 people on that uniform to supplement whatever it is you can't provide, then let them do it. You see, you can't on the one hand say, yes, you have to have this uniform and your logo is here and you have one sponsor here and this one is too big. And then on the other hand, offer 10 grand for a win on the Diamond League. It can't be both. And now we've created another problem because now other athletes are looking across the fence and saying, you know what, maybe I want to run for somebody else where the economics is going to be a little better for me. So I think we have to have some serious come to Jesus moment and admit what we are and what we are not.
Yeah, and by the way, Ato, what the point I was making, I don't want that to happen. I love track and field,
I know.
and I
But I
love
know a lot of
every
people who
single
do.
event in track and field. But at the same time, I'm thinking, how do we fix this? Just one more quick one from me. I was listening to a podcast this morning, and one of the suggestions was that based on how difficult it is to make money at the pro level, you're better off going to college, going to university, and getting a NIL deal where you could potentially make a lot more money than the pros. Would you be advising athletes, younger athletes at this stage, instead of going pro, hey, get to the US collegiate system and benefit from NIL deals?
10 years ago, that would have been an automatic statement. I am glad to come back when you guys eventually have the show, because it's another thing that's going to affect Jamaica, I think, disproportionately. Collegiate track and field is getting ready to change in a way in America that it has never changed in our lifetimes. When you have big universities like the University of Colorado completely dropping field events, and I am starting to see, particularly in the United States, you are seeing that because it's the haves and the have-nots. Basketball and football have their NIL money, and yes, the universities have their money, but it is becoming harder and harder for Olympic sports to survive and thrive in the NCAA system. I would not be surprised to see 10 to 15 major collegiate track and field programs next year saying, we're cutting men, we're cutting women, we're cutting field events, we're cutting distance events. So 5 years ago, that would have been a perfect plan. Now, I am not so sure that plan would work. And it's yet another thing that we're going to have to deal with.
Yeah. Ato, we're out of time. Before we go, because I know it was a Jamaica issue that triggered or getting you on the show today, but just a quick comment on TNT's athletics, because you've been a long-time critic of the track and field administration in TNT. I see Ephraim Serrett has returned as the president of the association there. Any thoughts on where TNT's track and field is and its immediate future?
It's exactly where I said it was going to be 10 years ago. We have had diminishing Carifta results, no results at the under 18 level back when that was a thing at the world level. Very few results at the under 20 level. And I think the powers that be allowed their resentment of me or their indignance at anybody questioning them to take their eye off the ball. So now the Titanic has not only hit the iceberg, it's at the bottom of the ocean. I was on a panel this week. Ephraim Serrett, who is the head of the federation, said we'll be lucky to have 4 people as part of the Trinidad and Tobago team in Tokyo. We will have absolutely no relays qualified in Tokyo for the World Championship. This is exactly where I said we would be 10 years ago. But I don't know how to get a ship off the ocean floor. So I am part of an initiative in Trinidad and Tobago, which is going to try to emulate Jamaica and Bahamas in terms of going and finding the talent in the high schools and not depending on the club. But right now, Trinidad and Tobago is in the middle of a very, very serious drought, which we didn't want to admit 5-6 years ago. But now that we are, our last world's medal was 2017. That's when we won the 4x4, and our last Olympic medal was Kershawn Walcott's bronze on the last day of Rio. So it's not good. It's not good. And if you're betting on Trinidad and Tobago track and field to turn around in the immediacy, I hope you're not using your own money, because I've never seen it this bad in my life.
All right. Ato, always great talking track and field with you, sir. Congrats on your award that you won with NCB last year, was it? Well earned, and keep up the good work.
Thank you. Nice to see you guys have all these new fancy digs. See, back when I was doing champs, things were a lot more rough around there. Nice.
Yeah.
I love watching you guys on YouTube and seeing this nice fancy set, and you guys are in 4K. It's like,
whenever you're in Jamaica,
it's an easy job now, man.
whenever you're in Jamaica, you can come check out the nice fancy set.
I definitely will. I definitely will. Thank you very much.
All right, Ato, a real star, Ato Boldon, and a student of the sport.
Yeah.
Always great talking track and field with Ato.
You know, I watched Ato as a commentator on the U.S. trials. It was ahead of the Sydney Olympics.
Yes.
He was still competing at the time.
Yes. Yes.
And he was on NBC's coverage.
Yeah,
That's wild.
he did 2004 with us in Athens.
In Athens,
when
yeah.
he had just retired.
Yeah.
And
He competed in 04, didn't he?
yes, he retired after.
He ran the relay in 04.
Yeah, and I think after he missed out qualifying in the second round,
Yeah.
he joined our commentary panel when Pauline Davis was with us and so on.
I'm trying to remember, didn't he get hurt?
Yes,
In
he had an
04?
injury. Yes, he had an injury. He had an injury issue, so that contributed to his decision to quit.
Yeah. So this
Alright.
is why I can't get any work in Lance.
Why?
Because the former athletes, they just come off the track and walk into the commentary box.
Okay, well maybe we look for you at Wimbledon.
I'm gonna break. Break time. Break time.
Break time!